Ladies and gentlemen, it's story time, and I have a story for you. It's the story about how I accidentally became a professional Magic the Gathering player. Now, when I think of a professional anything, to me, that means they make money doing it. So that's what I'm talking about. I have now officially made money from Magic the Gathering playing Magic the Gathering. I'll tell you all about how I got to that point. It is quite the ride and quite the story. And because I am contractually obligated, this video is sponsored by Keeps, but I'll get to that later. So as many of you know, I am a fan of the Magic the Gathering card game. I've done several videos on Magic, including one on this channel of the old 90s PC RPG. I've also done a playthrough of that same PC game over on my secondary gameplay channel, ProJared Plays. I also did another playthrough over on the secondary channel, only I modded the PC game from the 90s to have modern cards. Definitely go watch those if you're a fan of Magic at all. You'll have a good time with it. And of course, I also stream Magic the Gathering every single Monday over on Twitch, twitch.tv/ProJared. Go follow me over there. So every Monday, which I call Magic Monday, I just play Magic the Gathering. My favorite format to play is limited, so sealed and draft especially. So I do a lot of drafting over on there, and I'm always streaming it. And I quite frequently hit the top ranks. I'm almost always hitting the Mythic rank every single season. And it just so happens that back in April, not only did I hit the Mythic rank, I hit the top players of the Mythic rank, the top 1,200 players, which means with that, I was able to play in the Mythic Championship Qualifier weekend. For those of you who don't know, Magic the Gathering has gone through a major change in how they do their organized competitive events and all of their tournaments. For the longest time, they basically barely existed. But thankfully, they've taken a lot of steps to revamp it. They even actually hired a former Magic the Gathering pro player and World Championship winner to actually head this up and basically fix their entire system. Part of that system was an all-new arena-specific pathway where once every 4 months or so, they would have a major tournament for Magic the Gathering players on Arena. To get to that event, you have to win one of the Mythic Championship Qualifier weekends. To be able to play in one of those qualifier weekends, you have to qualify for it. And one of the ways you qualify for it is being a top-ranked Mythic player, which I happened to be back in April. So I figured, hey, why not? We'll give it a shot. May 2022, early May, they have their Mythic Championship Qualifier weekend. It's still the limited format. This is when Streets of New Capenna came out. So the entire weekend was limited Streets of New Capenna. So day one, sealed. We were given 6 booster packs of Streets of New Capenna, opened them all up, tried to make the best deck we could out of those 6 packs, and then we played everyone else. And I remember my pool for that being pretty good. I don't remember it being like busto stupid good, but it had a lot of really good cards in there. And I felt good about it. So then we go in, I start my first match, and I immediately lose. I am 0-1. The way these Mythic Championship Qualifier weekends work is that as soon as you have 2 losses, you're out. You have to get 7 wins before 2 losses. Otherwise, you don't qualify and you're out of the tournament. I lost my very first match. However, it's only one match, so naturally you just have to move on to the next one and persevere. And thankfully, I was able to win my next match. And my next match after that. And then the match after that. And then again and again. And I won 7 matches. I ended the first day of that Mythic Qualifier weekend at 7-1. So boom, there we go. I got through the first half. Day 1, done. But there's another half to it because the tournament continues for that qualifier weekend on day 2, which was a Sunday. On day 2, it was going to be draft. So I start up my draft and I'm streaming it. I have it streamed on a pretty significant delay so that no one is stream sniping me or trying to look me up and see my hand as I'm trying to play and all that. And my draft was bonkers good, like just stupid good. I immediately was able to identify my open seat and was able to take my colors. I was grabbing a lot of white stuff and a lot of green stuff, and it was all just amazing cards. Like by the end, I just had some of the best cards you could possibly hope to see in Streets of New Capenna. I had Titan of Industry, I had the Sanctuary Warden, Jetmir, Nexus of Revels was splashed in there. I also had Rabble Rousing, just like a ton of like busted good cards. So I'm looking at my draft deck and I'm like, this is amazing. Like this could actually go all the way. It's that good so long as I play it right. Same thing here as it was the day before. You have to win 7 total matches before your second loss. As soon as you lose 2 matches, you're out. And with this bonkers good deck into the very first match, and I get land screwed both games. It was rough. I mean, like, this was by like turn like 9 or something. I was stuck on 4 cards. I had like a 65% chance to draw another land at that point, and it just wasn't happening. It was a huge bummer and just took a lot of wind out of my sails. But thankfully, like I said, the deck was really, really good, and it kept just performing super well. It crushed the next opponent. It destroyed the opponent after that. There actually was a point where I played the same opponent 2 times in a row, and my deck just was so much better than theirs, and I absolutely decimated them, which isn't supposed to happen. You're not supposed to face the same opponent 2 times in a single tournament like that, but I think they just didn't have enough players for this event. And because I faced the same person twice and I defeated them twice, it means I gave them 2 losses. I was the one who knocked them out of the tournament. So I'm getting wins. I'm back up to 6 wins, 1 loss. It's like final boss time. 1 more match. At this match, if I win it, I qualify for the first ever Arena Championships, and I'm going to be one of those 32 players in there competing for a lot of money. And you just got to go into it. And the match comes, and oh my God, what a good match. It was so good, so close. We're both making super tight plays. We're both making very like big galaxy brain moves that the other person couldn't even see coming. They had a really, really good deck too. Like I remember the All-Seeing Arbiter was hitting the battlefield and causing troubles. And in between all of these close matches, back and forth, so very, very close, I lose. I lost the match. I ended the second day, 6 wins, 2 losses. I did not make the qualifier to play in the first ever Arena Championship. The person that beat me, he did. He actually showed up in my chat the next day saying he went back and watched my VOD to see what the match looked like from my point of view. Super cool guy. I didn't make it. 1 win short. But that's not the end of the story. The whole thing stressed me out so much. I had never had such intense play for something that was so big, so major. I had so much on the line that it was stressing me out, and I was pulling my hair out of my head. And I started losing all of my hair, which is why this video is brought to you by Keeps. Keeps is the #1 hair restoration at-home delivery service for men. 2 out of every 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. Rather than panicking about how you're going to get it all back, the best thing that you could possibly do is keep the hair that you already have. Prevention is key. Keeps will get a licensed doctor to examine your situation online and recommend the best treatment plan for you. The treatment is FDA approved and cheaper than any store shelf brand, which is great because that means I can get Keeps but still be able to afford to buy more Magic the Gathering boosters. Go to keeps.com/ProJared to get 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/ProJared, or click the link in the description down below and get yourself started today. And once again, thank you to Keeps for sponsoring this video. All right, flash forward again. Now it's August 2022, just a couple months ago. I'm at home doing something completely unrelated. I don't even remember what I'm doing. It just doesn't matter. I'm just at my computer. I'm doing work. I'm working on something. And I get an email out of nowhere. And the email was from the premiere play of Wizards of the Coast Magic the Gathering. I was like, oh, that's weird. There must be something wrong with my account. So I click it. Boop. And this email says, due to my exemplary performance at the Mythic Qualifier weekend back at May, even though I didn't win it, because I played so well, I am being given an at-large invitation to participate in the first ever Arena Championship. My jaw dropped. Basically what happened is, even though they had numerous Mythic Qualifier weekends, at the end of the day, this arena championship needed 32 competitors, and they didn't have enough for it. They only had like 20 some competitors or something like that for people who actually won these Mythic Qualifier weekends. So they had to start inviting basically everyone who took second place in the Mythic Qualifier weekends. And I was one of them. So by almost sheer dumb luck, because there wasn't enough players for the first ever arena championship, I did qualify. There's only 32 players in this whole tournament, and I'm one of them. These arena championships are a big deal, by the way. There's a $200,000 prize pool for the whole thing. Like, there's money all the way down. You could take dead last and you still get a prize payout. And there are some really big, major players in this tournament. I'm talking like longtime Magic the Gathering pros, names that people know have been doing this for years. People like Shota Yasuoka, Sam Rolfe, Per Lundstrom. These are people who have won Pro Tours or have been in the World Championship or have won multiple events. I was just happy to be there. So between the pros and all the prize money, there was like a lot on the line. This was a big deal tournament. And the format for the tournament was, on the very first day, we start off with draft. Awesome. I am so excited for that. I got here thanks to my drafting ability. Draft is my favorite format to play. I am so in on that. Yes, perfect. It was only for the first 3 matches though. After that, there's a grand total of 6 matches of Alchemy. For those of you who have not seen the Alchemy format, this is something that only exists on Magic the Gathering Arena, their online digital client. The concept was to be, it's just standard, like their current sets that people are playing in Magic, but changed and rebalanced for online. So if a card was too powerful, they could like nerf it for the online version. There was more to it than that, because there are also additional cards from other sets that exist only on Arena. They weren't printed into physical cards at all, and that was also part of the Alchemy format. Let me tell you, I don't know a dang thing about Alchemy. I've never really played it. I haven't kept up on the meta. I don't know what decks are being played. And when this was announced, going into this tournament, the first thing I thought was like, oh, well, that's fine. I mean, like, I'll just look up what other people are playing for their Alchemy decks, take a look at those, and maybe I can like tweak it and find a better one. Every single website that I went to that would tell you what the top decks in Alchemy are all said the exact same thing. They said, we can't tell you what the top decks in Alchemy are. There isn't enough data. Nobody is playing Alchemy. So that sucks. Basically what that meant is that I had to go into this tournament into a meta that I don't know, that no one knows, and I basically had to brew and construct my own deck for it. I've never really done that before. I've made a few decks in the past, but they were never meant to be like tier 1 top meta super hyper competitive. There's kind of things like, oh, these are neat, I'll put them together. And because of real life commitments, either personally or professionally, like getting videos out, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to commit to learning Alchemy or even getting a deck made or testing it or seeing if I should change decks entirely. I got to spend less than a week making a deck, trying to test it out, and then submitting it to the organizers for the tournament. That's not a lot of time. And knowing so little about Alchemy, like I didn't even know like what cards to look at or what even mattered. The deck choice I ended up on is I made a black-white deck. The concept was I just started with the popular mono-black mid-range deck that was in standard at that time, and I wanted to adjust it to include some powerful Alchemy cards that I knew existed. And the main ones were Xander's Wake and Lae'zel from the Baldur's Gate set. So because of that, I ended up being black-white. I also brought in stuff like Wandering Emperor, Wedding Announcements, because those are strong, Fateful Absences to deal with other planeswalkers. And my thought process was, well, I don't know anything about Alchemy, therefore no one else really knows about Alchemy, so they'll probably just like make an aggro deck because they don't want to think about it, and they'll just play aggro. I didn't get to practice a whole lot, but I did get to at least practice some. Like, just for myself, getting the reps in my own deck so I at least knew how to play my own deck. And I was committed to at least trying to do well at this tournament. So then it comes, the first ever Arena Championship, the inaugural one. They've never done this before. There are 32 players. I'm one of them. Here we go. The draft starts up and my opening pack wasn't great. I typically am not best at playing aggro decks, like red-white, Boros, aggro, creatures, just get in there, swing, don't worry if your opponent blocks, you're just trying to get damage in there. That's usually not my style and easily like my weakest suit when it comes to playing any kind of limited or just magic deck at all. Needless to say, I drafted a red-white aggressive deck. I had a lot of good cards in there. I had 3 Lightning Strikes, 2 Twinfernos to potentially copy those Lightning Strikes. I also had King Darien and Radha as green splashes, and easily the best card I got the Elder Dragon War Saga, the one that deals 2 damage to every creature and opponent, and on chapter 3 you just get a 4/4 flying dragon. I had some good cards, but overall, like, I looked at the deck, it was still a little lackluster on the 2-drop side. I didn't love the 3 drops either. So I looked at it and to me it felt like a 6 out of 10 deck. Like, it was fine. It could probably sneak out a win or 2. But then we went to the first matches and I destroy my first opponent in the first round of draft. My deck went out super clean. I was actually able to finish them off by doing a Twinferno Lightning Strike and Lightning Strike them twice into the face for 6 damage to finish them off. So I won the first match. Awesome. Already got a win. You know, great, exciting. Match 2 comes around and once again, the deck just played out super clean. Everyone's trying to play like this slower domain stuff, but because I'm getting faster to the board and being more aggressive, I'm just getting damage in. And my second match, I win. I am now 2-0. This whole thing was being live broadcast on the official Magic Twitch channel, by the way. And they had like hosts, they had commentators watching our matches so they could broadcast it and show it to others. And after that second match, they actually showed the current standings. And I was up there. After 2 rounds, I was ranked 3rd, which, you know what, if nothing else, for such a big tournament, even if it was as brief as that was really cool to see. And they pronounced my last name correctly. But we still got one more round of draft. I'm feeling good. I got 2 wins. Sit down for my opponent. Here we go. And we can see deck lists from the other opponent right away. It was all open deck lists, so I could see what was in his deck, what he drafted, what was in his sideboard. And I'm looking at his creatures. He had some good top end. He had like the white Defiler, the Phyrexian Warhorses to go wide, but his 2-drops are extra bad. He had a lot of the Toxic Abominations and Dominaria United, the 3/2, 1 in the black creatures, but when they enter the battlefield, you'll lose 2 life. He's playing 2 of them. Not great. So I was like, oh, perfect. I can punish this. Take them out, get in for damage, let's go. And in the first round, which was broadcast, you can actually go back and watch this. I felt like I was doing really, really well. Like, I had board presence, I was applying pressure, but my deck was like 70% red cards, and I only had 1 mountain out. So only having 1 red source of mana meant that I just couldn't double spell. I couldn't like flood the board with all these extra creatures. I could only do like 1 thing at a time, and it was just, the deck didn't cooperate and it was just going too slow, and that was just because I was missing a land. It was still pretty close, but that was one of those things where like, well, I did what I could, so that's fine. We go into round 2. A lot of the same thing. I feel like I'm starting out okay. I'm applying a lot of pressure. My opponent has cards in their hand that are not able to play, and I get the exact opposite problem, which was mana flood. All I did was draw extra lands and I wasn't getting enough interaction. I actually had a really good Smash to Dust sideboard play that I brought in, which was perfect, but I ended up drawing it, I think, like 1, maybe 2 turns too late, even though it would have been beautiful if I had gotten it at the right moment. But I just flooded it out, so sadly, I lost my 3rd match. But that's okay. After draft, I've already got 2 wins. The way the tournament works is that there is a cut to top 8. After 9 total rounds of gameplay, whoever has the top 8 ranked players, they're going to do like a single elimination top 8. And I believe at this point, your record had to be 5 wins and 4 losses or better in order to make the top 8. And I already had 2 wins. However, here comes the alchemy portion. And this is where I had to play the deck that I built. no one was playing black-white. I was the only deck submission that was black-white, which means everyone else knew something that I didn't. And it turns out I was correct. What they knew that I didn't was a card called Diviner of Fates, and I hate that card. I had actually done some practicing against these Esper decks because I figured there would be some of the more popular ones, and my deck was just not lined up properly against them. But by then it was too late. My deck was already submitted, so I couldn't swap to something that could possibly beat them or even just play that specific deck, which is a bummer. So, and when I see that, what was it, like 60% of the players in this championship were all playing Esper decks, I was like, oh, that's not good. But I did see some other decks in there that I did have good matchups against. So as long as I could play against one of those decks that I know I can beat, I could potentially squeak out some wins. Long story short, after the draft portion, I went 2-1. Then it was 3 rounds of Alchemy. I lost the first round of Alchemy. I lost the second round of Alchemy. And I lost the third round of Alchemy. That's not good. It does not feel good at all. So at the end of the first day, I'm 2-4. I lost, at this point, 4 rounds straight in a row. But that's okay. I still got 3 more rounds that I can do the next morning. And again, if I just win 3 in a row, I could still make the top 8. So on day 2, I'm 2-4. We're going into the 7th round. I lose round 7. Round 8, I lose. Round 9, I lose. I lost every single round of Alchemy in the Mythic Championship. And that's okay though. That just means I learned a lot from the experience, and especially when it comes to Constructed. Like I haven't done that enough, and it kind of actually helped remind me why I enjoy playing Constructed sometimes. And it was one of those things where I just knew I did not have the time available just to be able to commit to learning this format and getting better at it and actually being able to stand a chance. Knowing that a lot of the other players in this tournament had testing teams or tested with each other, so like they were able to figure out the meta and the best deck possible to play. That was just something that I just didn't have, which, you know, that's a bummer. I did my best, but, you know, it is what it is. So I end the tournament a grand total of 2 wins, 7 losses. I had really just one major goal for this whole tournament. Only one. I didn't want to take last place. I didn't want to take last place because getting to this tournament already was such a huge accomplishment, and I already had tons of people saying that I shouldn't even be there. Mostly people think I was just there just because I happened to be a YouTuber and streamer, and none of them realized I just actually played well and qualified for this tournament. But I didn't want to take last place because I didn't want to embarrass myself. And I went 2-7. I ended in 30th place, not last, baby. Woo! So even with that, like I said, $200,000 prize pool, there were prize payouts all the way down, even to last place, which means at 30th, I still won prize money. That means I have won money playing Magic the Gathering. And because of that, technically and officially, I am now a professional Magic the Gathering player. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to my story. I just wanted to share this. It was a major accomplishment for me. It's something that I just wanted to be better at, and it was a small dream come true, and I was just so honored to be there ever since I started going to competitive Magic events back in 2016 and trying to get better. And it was really, really validating because, again, I've had so many people show up either in my YouTube comments or in my Twitch chat basically telling me I can't do it. I will never be good enough. I'll never make it there. I don't have the skill or anything for it. And you know what? They were wrong. And even though I was 30th out of 32 people, there were 29 people ahead of me, I can look behind me and realize there were hundreds of thousands of people who couldn't even get there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Come watch me play Magic over on Twitch.